G'day everyone. Thought I'd continue on with the series going through our buttons and how they're set up on the a7 III camera. I have done a couple of videos already where I've showed back button focus and also the custom menus. Today I thought I'd show you the FN menu. Now the menu itself is on the back here, so you can see where it's written there, and that's the button that you actually press to bring up a set of features on the camera. So I thought I'd discuss with you what I've got on my camera. Now remember, every camera is different because you will all want different things, but I thought this might give you a foundation for what I use and why I've got it in there. I do have the same settings for video and stills. It just works that way. I like them, and I think so some settings may be grayed out because that will come on if you change it to movie mode. But let's switch over to the camera and we'll have a look. I have got rid of Ken. I've now put a Dalek on there. So if I press the function menu on the back of the actual camera, you'll see that's what comes up. So these can all be totally programmed in the camera itself. Now I'll show you where you can set them. If I go over to the menus, so they're actually down here. If you look under the second menu up the top, which is in purple, so number 2, and if you change the function menu set down here, and that's where you can change it. So number 1 there, you can see it's upper, and then if you go down to here, you'll have the lower functions. So any of these can be changed at any time depending on what you actually want to put on them. So let me switch out again, and I'll show you what I've got and just sort of discuss them. So let's look at the first one. It's actually the touch screen. There are times where you would like to turn your touch screen off, and this is one way of doing it quickly. I've found sometimes my nose or something like that can touch an area of it and it starts to interfere with it if you're using the EVF, for instance. So I can turn that off if I need to and then just use the joystick. So that's one way of turning the touch screen on and off. You'll see if I click into there, you've just got on and off there, so it just depends on what you actually want to use. So let's go through to the second menu. Now focus area, now I am going to go through these as separate videos in upcoming videos. Focus area I like to have in here as well, and then you can just select from your wide, zone, center, flexible spot, etc. But like I said, I'm going to discuss these with you in another video later on. The next one I've got on here is silent shooting. Now I very rarely use silent shooting with the a7 III. You can use the silent shooting as long as nothing moves, but you've got to be very careful if you're using it under artificial lighting. So that's one reason why I don't use it much. If you're dealing with daylight and nothing's moving very quickly, you can use it quite safely, but you've just got to remember it's not the A9. So there are times when I will use it if I need to, if I want to be very quiet working in stealth. As long as I'm under natural lighting and things aren't going to move around, you can actually use it. So that's there as well, and you can obviously turn that on and off as well. If I go back to the menu, the next one that I've got there is center lock on AF. Now I like to use this because sometimes I do use center lock on, and all I'll do is I'll engage it, and so you'll see again, I'll talk about this in another video later on. If I click on the Dalek there, you can see that then it will track the actual Dalek, and so that's how that works. Let me go back to the FN menu. The next one I've got is metering mode, and again I'm going to use these or discuss this in a different video later on. You've got multi, center, standard. If you want to change, you can actually change this to large, etc. You've got entire screen average and highlight if you want to protect the highlights, but like I said, I'll discuss this in another video later on. So that's another one I do use often through this FN menu. The next one is the flash mode. That can be changed depending on whether you want to use rear sync, whether you'd like to go to wireless flash, things like that. So I do use that quite often as well. Again, I use stabilization. It's nearly always on, but if you do want to put it on a tripod, you can turn that stabilization off. So that's the reason why I've actually got it here. Next one is automatic white balance. I will go back to that too. I tend to leave it on when I'm using a gimbal though. I don't turn the stabilization off. If you're on a tripod, I do turn it off. Next one is the white balance. Now again, I'll talk about this in a separate video, but there is white balance standard, there's ambient and white. So like I said, I'll discuss that in another video. The next one is if you want to change your creative styles. I've got that on here, but I found I could change that and put something else there actually, because I tend to keep the profiles completely standard. But if you did want to change them for some reason, I could come into here and then start to change the profile that I'm actually using. And if you click over, you can see how you can change contrast, saturation, and also sharpness. But like I said, I am only shooting standard, so I could change that. The next one there, which is grayed out, is the microphone. That would come on if I was shooting video. I like to have that on because I like to see where the microphone levels are. The next one here is AF track sensitivity. Now I do use this if I want to change how fast the tracking is from the focus, whether it will be very responsive, like if you were trying to track something that was moving very, very quickly, or whether you want to lock on, and I'll discuss that in another video at another time as well. And the last one is just shooting mode, whether you'll be in PASM. I will probably change that to something else as well, but sometimes I use it in video, and that's why it's on there, and then I can change that setting depending on whether I wanted to shoot aperture mode or in manual focus mode as well. So they're the settings that I use. Let me know in the box down below what you use, because I'd just be curious to know. Remember, this really is tailored to exactly how you want to shoot. This is the beauty with the Sony system. You've got so many of these controls that you can set up. We're also going to look at the quick menu, the favorite menu, and things like that in upcoming videos coming up soon as well. So apart from that, stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.